All right, this is Polar Island Parkway. I got Okee Brand with me,
Hey,
um, fellow musician, fellow fan of the Head.
yeah, love the head, love the head.
Best band to do this with, I think, for us because super influential for us and every other weird indie musician ever.
I would think so. They definitely influenced us back when we were jamming, for sure.
Yeah, always at the top of the list. We're gonna rank. We're gonna do a tier list of all the albums. We're doing it in
Check it
order.
out. We're
So let's
doing it
do
in order.
Pablo Honey.
Did you like Pablo Honey?
Now,
That's a weird question to start with. Let's cut that.
yeah.
Did you like it?
Pablo Honey is like, for me, just the most just forgettable thing in the entire discography. Like even with Creep on it, which is, not a song I enjoy listening to anymore. Anyways,
Back the first few times I heard it, for sure, it was cool. But
yeah.
over the years, Pablo Honey was the second Radiohead album I heard. I definitely heard the Bends first.
Oh yeah,
I agree that it is fairly forgettable. Few standout tracks for me, like
yeah.
you.
You can't even say it's overplayed too, because it's just aside from Creep, nobody knows what's on Pablo Honey.
Yeah, not really. There was anyone can play guitar. Like some
Yeah.
people might be like semi-familiar with if they're older, just because it
Oh, the
was a single.
MTV,
Yeah, and the
the
MTV
pool
thing.
video.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
forgot
yeah,
about
yeah.
that. Yeah.
So, um, that one is one of my standout ones too. And it's the opener and that song and the closer, Blowout, that I like.
Yeah.
I don't know. In terms of like what Radiohead can do, uh, and what they became later, I'd be ranking that like fairly low, to be honest. I would
I
maybe
think it
say,
gets a low rating for sure. I mean, it's not perfect. It's not S. It's not. I don't think it's A or B personally.
yeah, and I think Radiohead would agree.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think they're too fond of Pablo Honey.
Yeah.
I would probably put it in a C maybe. What
I think
would
I
you
put it
think?
in C also. Just in terms of their whole discography based off of everything else. I think
Right.
C's where it goes.
Yeah, for sure. The Bends.
Ben's is like if I'm gonna put on Radiohead, if I'm driving or something, it's always been the Benz. I don't know why.
I think like Just was the first song I heard from Radiohead, and I
Yeah.
was pretty young and it was just like so badass.
Remember we played Just one time at an open mic?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was sweet. That one has a ton of standout tracks to me. The singles and beyond, like almost every track on that album is a standout.
Yeah, I think so too. There's nothing I'd skip really with the Benz if it comes on.
Yeah. And you can hear where they kind of started to like get their sound that they're moving forward with
Yeah, coming out of
in
that
that.
like '90s rock grunge like influences into their weird territory.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. Well, where would you put that?
I'd do A tier, I think,
That's what I
but
was
I
saying.
understand B tier, like an argument for that. Personally, I do A tier.
I would say A tier too.
Nice.
It's really good. There's no skips, man. There's no skips.
Yeah, yeah. Every song is awesome. All right. Okay, computer.
Okay, Computer. Huge album.
Huge, just iconic. I'm sure we both already know where this is going on the list, but I also want to like just in general be like, this is an iconic album that doesn't necessarily make it way better. You know what I mean?
Right.
But okay, computer also is just like an amazing album.
Yeah, it came out in the 90s and it is so timeless.
Yeah,
Um it's a great album all around.
yeah. I don't skip anything with that either. I think like there are weaker tracks and stronger tracks, but it's just so good all the way through.
It really is. You get to like Exit Music and
Yeah. Oh
I
my
don't
god.
know. I just get like mind blown, chills down my spine every time I hear that. Climbing Up the Walls was really, really chill and cool.
Hell yeah. Yeah, OK Computer, it's another step in that transition for them, I think, into that. It's not as of the era as the Bends, I guess.
For sure. Yeah, you're right. It definitely isn't.
You just feel like creeping up on the new millennium.
For real. It's great.
Yeah, where's OK Computer falling on this list? I mean,
I gotta say, that's definitely an S tier, bro.
100%. Yeah, there's no other place it could go. And we got Kid A.
Yeah, here's where we're getting pretty strange, and
yeah,
Radiohead's upset at this point.
Yeah, what's
with the
wrong?
fame and the
Tom's just like he's sucking on lemons.
Yeah, he's in denial. He's very upset. I love Kid A lot.
Yeah.
I got it when it came out. It's so weird, but I really love it. It's kind of my introduction to like digesting weird music.
Yeah.
And liking it.
Yeah, so a lot of your music too, like over the years, that always like is in the back of my mind, like such an influence, I think, for you. I'm just saying it. I don't know if it's true.
Yeah, like Idiotech and Everything in Its Right Place. Like those two tracks are huge standouts to me.
Those are my two favorites.
Yeah, those are great.
I think so. Yeah, Kid A is another one of the iconic ones. Really impressive. Everything's like in its right place.
Yeah.
Everything's worked on really well and like sound and flows together. I don't think it's worthy of S tier personally, but I wouldn't go any lower than A myself.
Yeah. Okay. I would want to S tier this. I'm gonna roll with the A tier with you.
Yeah.
And see where we go, because later on, in comparison to some other albums, we'll see how that feels at the end.
Deal. Yeah, I see both. I mean, I see the argument for S tier.
We're throwing it in A because I feel like for like everybody else, like digesting Radiohead and hearing it, like most people, I mean, like people that aren't fans of Radiohead are gonna hear that and probably be like not wanting it.
It's definitely like alienating and
So
yeah, that's true.
Let's throw it in A because
being objective
instead of how much I do love it.
Yeah, totally.
How familiar? Like how? Just
Amnesiac's like one of the other ones that I like. If I like, that's another one where I'll just put it on. You know what I mean? Like when you like something so much, you just never listen to it. And Amnesiac's one of the other things where it's like, it's not the one of the ones I'm most familiar with, but it's one of the ones I listen to the most. If that makes any sense.
You throw it on a lot?
Oh yeah, still all the time.
Yeah.
It's a cool album. It's just like super cool.
It's strange. I guess like we got to see how they released Kid A and Amnesiac together.
Yeah.
And that was interesting. So it kind of seems like those were songs that were created in the same session, and
right.
Is that correct? Do you know if that's a fact?
Yeah, like that Kid Amnesia. I didn't know it until they did that.
Yeah, no, neither did I.
Same session.
Okay, so basically, like, I guess we're looking at almost like a B-side record, except I'm guessing maybe Tom wanted the album to be Kid A Amnesiac originally.
Yeah.
But couldn't get it out like that because it was long and strange, right? So looking at it like that, it's weird, but I really love Pyramid song a lot.
Song's awesome. Yeah.
And the opener track,
Sardines.
Yeah.
Love that one. Yeah.
Very good. And there's closer to the end, like we get Knives Out on this one. We got there's a bunch of good songs on there. So
yeah, that's one of the other ones too. I always forget. They're like Knives Out, such a good song.
Yeah, it's it is somewhat of a forgettable album, and it is a hard one to like listen to. But I don't know.
Yeah, and then following that logic too, with the with it being just like almost like leftovers from Kid A, in a sense. I mean, it should fall below Kid A on the tier list, and obviously Kid A with its like how explosive that was. Amnesiac's gonna fall lower, but I think it's solid.
Yeah, I would not put it next to Pablo, and I wouldn't
No.
necessarily hold it next to Kid A. So I would think probably like in the B tier.
Yeah, totally.
Because it is good.
I feel like that's perfectly placed.
Yeah, so far we got a pretty nice tier list. I think at the end here, I think this is where we get two different kind of Radiohead fans. Like we have a pretty big age gap. So I was around when these other albums were coming out, like a bit older, and by the time like In Rainbows came out, that's when Radiohead did get a ton of like new fans. That's their first independent album. We'll talk about that when we get there, I guess. But I feel like, once we get to like that era is where we're going to kind of struggle in how the placement did go and where things sit for sure.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
And then, so we got Hail to the Thief.
So Hail to the Thief is the one album that it's the one I'm like the least familiar with, but it's just every time I listen to it, I'm like, why don't I listen to this all the time? So good.
It is a crazy album. One of my
favorite ones is on one of my favorite Radiohead songs, "Wolf at the Door," is on that. There's so many good tracks.
I love it so much. Every track is good on that one.
Yeah,
it's good. You can hear how they're definitely like branching into In Rainbows there. They're
totally
starting to like come back to a bit more of a poppy sound, even though it's not necessarily like mainstream. It's definitely a great album. I'm very familiar with it. I got it. I bought a vinyl of it, so I played that one a lot. And
it's like almost the reverse criticism of what I usually have for bands. It's like I think Radiohead does both things really well. But I like how after Kid A and Amnesiac, they like just dipped back into like the traditional band setup and like making songs like that are like really sharp and just you can like jam to.
Yeah, for sure. They still have like really cool, like different timings and strange melodies and stuff. So it's like cool like that, but definitely I know what you're saying. I like it too.
I'm thinking B tier.
I'm thinking B tier too, but I would have this up in A tier, and I would have Kid A up in S tier probably, realistically, is what I'm thinking. But that's more subjective in my mind, for sure.
Yeah.
So I agree with B tier as an overall.
That's what I'm cool with being an A tier though too. Is LV like it makes sense in either one.
It does. Would you put it in A or B?
I'm kind of torn between the two of them. Like, so if it's in A, it's up with the Bends, and I think it is like up with the Bends. You know what I mean?
I agree. I can see it right next to the Bends, and I just have it one below Kid A in my mind. Let's throw it in A.
Yeah.
It is bomb. It is like next to the Bends for sure.
In Rainbows.
I feel like this is everybody's favorite Radiohead album.
Yeah.
And a lot of people's introduction to modern Radiohead. It's also their first indie release.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's right.
Oops.
Yep. I think In Rainbows is just like I understand all the hype still. Like I think it's an amazing album.
I love it. For me though, there's a handful of tracks that I almost borderline don't like on it. That a lot of people love, like Nude.
Really? You don't like
Yeah,
Nude?
I don't. Can never sit through that one, and this is where I start to not be able to sit through certain Radiohead tracks after Hail is where that starts. But with that, like 15 Step, Reckoner, Jigsaw are some of like the best fucking Radiohead songs
Arpeggi
of all time. Arpeggi's, that's one. I'm mid on that one too. Like I know so many people love that one, and it's like very popular. This is where I start to like definitely differ in the. I think maybe I'm more of like an old school Radiohead fan, but I do love In Rainbows very much. I love their whole discography.
I think most people would put it S tier.
It belongs in an S tier, I would think. It was. I mean, it's their first independent release. It had a lot of impact. It did really solidified like who they are now, I would say, because they haven't really strayed from like that's just how they've been ever since.
Yeah, that makes sense. And then that's something they do well. When the more like experimental and ambient they get, like it becomes like 50-50 whether it's going to be like a really cool track or just hard to get through.
Yeah,
I think with the other ones, like with more traditional like rock kind of things, like on In Rainbows, it becomes like just the ratio is super different. Like it's there's more home runs. You know what I mean?
Definitely, there's a lot. And then we got the part 2 of In Rainbows. We don't have it on here, but those were a handful of good songs too. Down is the new Bangers and Mash. I forget what else, but those were good. Good session of Radiohead, and we also got in the from the basement sessions.
Yeah, that was so
around
good.
Those, and seeing the live shows with Radiohead around this time, like they were really good and tight. Like seeing them play together is great.
The contrast between that from the basement versus the next basement one they did In Rainbow's super tight. Like everybody's on like down to the millisecond. Everybody's just they share a brain. That whole, unit.
It's good. I love that one. It and Tom's just vibing. So yeah, that was a good era for Radiohead. Like 100%. How many times did these guys peak? Damn.
Yeah, and by doing something different too, not just what I mean, peaking because of different reasons every time. Yeah,
for real. And not in just that, not in the mainstream ever, just right next to it though.
Yeah.
I don't know. I would agree. I wouldn't argue with someone if they put it in S. I wouldn't argue with someone if they put it in A. I'd probably put it in B. I'm crazy.
Really?
Yeah, I'd sit it next to Amnesiac for sure. It feels almost like King of Limbs feels more like Amnesiac, but I'd put that. We're getting there. You would instinctually put it in S?
I think instinctually
cut that out.
Yeah, like objectively S would be like near perfect.
I feel like, how can we argue that it's not near perfect though? Even though I said there's some songs that bore me, that's just, they bore me. They're not.
Yeah, they're subjective. Yeah.
They fit right where they are for sure.
S tier works, I think.
I think you talked me kind of into it. Like, again, subjectively, I'm sitting it at B for my faves, but like, definitely objectively, it's an S. And I'm gonna have to swallow my pride on the Kings of Limbs again here, because that's like, let's go. I really like King of Limbs again, and I would hold it higher than In Rainbows, but objectively it's not in Rainbows at all. And
you put it above In Rainbows?
I would. I listened to the King of Limbs a lot more than In Rainbows, and definitely enjoyed it more. it feels like a good follow up to In Rainbows. It's natural. It's a little bit darker and a little bit stranger, and
Yeah, that's true.
it sounds basically almost like the same record, but just like in a darker place, where In Rainbows was Rainbows. It's a happy album, pretty much.
Yep.
And King of Limbs, for me, Bloom, awesome track.
Bloom's awesome. I like Lotus Flower.
Magpie. Yeah, Lotus Flower. I didn't even think of that off the top of my head because I was thinking of other tracks, but that's a great song. Codex, the
Yep.
one, is it Give Up the Ghost?
Yeah,
So,
I keep forgetting that there are really solid songs on King of Limbs.
and Little by Little, it's again, like, I don't think a lot of people would say Little by Little is a solid track, but it's always those weird tracks that really get me. And Pyramid Song, the one I just mentioned, and I like that. Do you listen to the King of Limbs a lot or not as much?
No, it's one of those other ones I just never go back to. So when it came out, I was just all about it for like months, and it was just like constant every song, and then I just never had one of those bursts again with it.
Right. Yeah.
But
yeah, I definitely go back to it a lot.
huh, King of Limbs is a good album.
Objectively, I think we should maybe set it next to Amnesiac.
Yeah, no, I think so too.
Because just like, it's like the Amnesiac of to Kid A, like where In Rainbows and King of Limbs,
That's a
you
good
have
point.
Kid A and Amnesiac.
That's a good point. Yeah, King of Limbs is to In Rainbows what Amnesiac was to Kid A.
I would kind of think a B, and then it is one of my favorites.
Yeah. Yeah, B tier is objectively, I think, a good place for it. And then we got Moon Shaped Pool, which is weirdly one of my, one of the ones I just still come back to all the time.
Talk about it.
I come back to it a lot. I don't think it's necessarily like as one piece of work, like a super strong record, within their whole body of work. I think it's really solid though, and like just the fact that some of them were, I mean, some of the tracks on that record, being heard in the '90s and like being worked on by Tom and
True.
Johnny for like just decades.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes, but then some, I don't know. There are some skips, I think, in there. For sure.
Yeah, for me, I don't know. It came out just around the time my son was born, so I was excited about it and I wanted to connect like the two together.
Yeah.
But it got overshadowed by a lot of other music for me. And I didn't end up really ever getting an attachment to it, or I don't even think I've honestly played the whole thing through yet.
Yeah.
From start to finish.
Yeah, 2016,
what was the second
right?
single that came out of it?
Yes, the first one was
2016.
"Burn the Witch," and then the second,
Which is cool.
totally.
That was a good
So,
one.
do you remember there was an open mic, and we the day that dropped was the day that we were going to this open mic, and I showed up and I listened to it on repeat the whole day, played it, and then it's another one of those things where I was like, this is an amazing song, and then like a week later I'm like, I'm done listening to this. But then Daydreaming,
Yeah.
I think, is still like just so good.
Yeah, okay. That's the Daydreaming was really good. I like that.
Yeah.
A lot, and I liked the video a lot. It went
Yeah,
really well with
yeah,
the
that's
track.
really like a strong one, I think.
And then I really liked Full Stop, and that was, I think that's track 3 on it.
Yeah, Full Stop's good.
And that's about it. That's all I can remember off of it. Those 3 tracks. It seemed like it was a bit more of a emotional, like slower album. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, like cleaner sounding, but then like also just way slower, more yeah, emotional and kind of brooding.
Yeah, yeah. It opens crazy, but
Yeah, yeah.
um,
It just burns out like that. And True Love Waits is one of those ones that I think is just like the old versions that we've kind of heard of that are way better than the one that
right.
finally made it to in their discography. So I kind of
Yeah,
feel the same with Videotape too. If we go back to In Rainbows, like I think that kind of lively version of Videotape that was played at shows and stuff was way
yeah. I remember
better.
that.
But yeah, I think Moonshaped Pool is solid, but there are definitely a couple weak moments. But overall, I think it's a good album.
Yeah. Again, like they're at a point in their career where they work well together. You can't say anything like about their musicianship being poor or anything like that.
Yeah,
It's a well done album. But yeah, I don't know. They look at their career here, what we have up on the board so far, and this is the last thing they gave us
yeah,
as Radiohead, I think. I don't know if there's been any like things. There's the Smile and those side groups, but
yeah. I never check in on that stuff, on those
I don't
side
either.
projects, but I just heard that one the other day, that friend of a friend or something. So
I don't
super
know. I'll
good.
check it out later. Yeah, like objectively, like I'm not familiar with it enough to really give it an objective.
I think it's another one that belongs on B tier. Because
Okay.
I wouldn't put it up with the Bends, and I don't know.
I don't think we can put it next to Pablo.
Yeah, definitely not.
With the thing we just said about like musicianship and stuff, like they've come such a long way that it's just objectively not Pablo Honey at all.
Yeah, totally.
Or on that level. In terms of like favorites in mind though, I would probably say like it's equal to almost Pablo Honey. Like how I would listen to it, I'd pick like 3 tracks on it and get the heck out of there to somewhere I like.
Yeah.
Like Kid A land.
Yeah. Yeah, I think B tier makes sense for Moonshaped Pool.
That's a good tier list. That seems like a very objective tier list.
Yeah, I think that's right.
There's
We got S tier is OK Computer and Rainbows. A tier is Benz, Kid A, Hail the Thief. B tier is Amnesiac, King of Limbs, Moonshaped Pool, and then C tier is Pablo.
yeah, no D tier.
No,
Nothing in
no
there.
D.
Beauty, because they're just not that kind of band.
Yeah, I think that's a solid ranking.
That's a great ranking. Okay, what do we need an outro.
Bye.
Bye. That's good. Yeah, cool, man. Thanks. No, you say something. It's not.
Thanks for hopping on and doing this with me, man. We should do more of this because we're geniuses.
Yeah, for
we
sure.
know everything, and everybody else's opinions are stupid.
Yeah, like Fantano.
Yeah. Yeah, Anthony.
That guy would be cool to like. For him to like bring a little bit of his input into like what we're talking about.
Yeah. So we can like learn.
Might be kind of cool. Yeah.
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 Totally.
See you, bud.
Last track.
No. That's track 4. We're on the tourist.
It's
Cut
a great
that part
opener. Yeah. Creep is my favorite song on Kid A.
out.